What's up guys, it's Kyoto here from the AnimeBallZ team with another This Is. This time on This Is, Rurouni Kenshin, the new Kyoto arc.
Off the tracks.
So Rurouni Kenshin is the story of Kenshin Himura, the former Bartosai from the warring states of the Meiji, or before the Meiji period started. Essentially all this stuff just before Western influence became very big in Japan. And, you know, we all like to be big in Japan. But this is essentially set in that sort of, you know, straddling those two eras where Japanese culture, the, you know, very traditional stuff was not influenced by Western, but the Western stuff was starting to come in. Very similar time frame to where Samurai Champloo is. Actually, Samurai Champloo is probably set a little bit after this because the Western influence has taken a bigger foothold at this point in time. Anyway. So the new Kyoto arc is a retelling and a reimagining of the Kyoto arc of the anime and the manga by the same series, you know, Rurouni Kenshin. Very vastly different to how the series is portrayed, and it does create a lot of problems for the series because it acts as a standalone. And, you know, for example, spoiler alert, by the way, there's a character that Sanosuke fights in both the movie and in the anime. Or there's two OVAs, technically, not a movie. But in the actual anime, he fights a guy who's a former priest, a former Buddhist priest whose entire village was burnt to the ground, and he saw all the kids at his Buddhist temple killed, and he decided to go down a path of more of a warring thing, where he has a technique which he teaches to Sanosuke, not realizing that the two are enemies, which is like this weird double punch thing, with like knuckles extended. You hit the surface and then you do like boom boom, but you have to do it in an instant where it just creates this massive impact wave. Sanosuke knows this technique in the OVAs, but in the anime and the manga, it's this, you know, this whole thing of, wow, you taught me this technique. This is really weird. And it all took place in Shishio's temple, Shishio being the bad guy, and essentially he was the second Bartosai. After Kenshin Himura retired, Shishio became the Bartosai, and when they got to the end of this warring period, they decided to kill him off, so they burnt him alive. He managed to survive with ridiculously high level amounts of burns, and as a result his body has no ability to control his temperature, so he does overheat, and that subsequently leads to his demise in the anime version. In this version, Kenshin gets really badly messed up. The series starts at, the movie and that are very parallel. They both show up at you know, Shishio's temple where he lives, his, you know, his massive palace, and Kenshin's sword gets broken. Kenshin goes off to go get a new sword, where he ends up fighting, I think it's Cho, is the guy's name, broomhead guy, who in the anime has like this whip sword, and I can't remember how that ties in with the manga. It's been a long time since I've read the manga. The anime resonates a lot more because that was just one of those things where you're watching a new version of the anime, you remember the old anime. Pretty sure the manga did follow, pretty sure the anime did follow the manga rather, a lot more closely than what the reimagining does. So the fights are always a lot shorter and a lot more gruesome as well. You know, Sanosuke barely gets through his fight, and as opposed to fighting in a dark cave as a progressionary thing, he ends up not fighting in that way. And you've got one of the other characters in the series, the police guy, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, who is meant to fight this blind guy and ends up killing him as a result, but that blind guy is actually killed by Shishio in this reimagining, which means that the police guy ends up fighting Shishio for a time before Kenshin shows up and takes over. So it sort of really changes how the plot happens. And there's a lot more stuff showing up as far as Yahiko and Kaoru and stuff like that, and even Misawa for a time, but their characters are, I feel, a lot stronger in the anime, and this doesn't really portray the characters as well, and you don't get the understanding of who these people are as well as what the anime does. So you really need to have watched the anime to understand So you really need to have watched the anime to understand the new Kyoto arc, but at the same token, you need to be able to remove yourself from what you know in order to appreciate the new Kyoto arc. It's very weird. Anyway, I've rambled way too much about this. Let's have a look at the cast for this series, because it's a bit of an interesting one, and a lot of the people are not very well out there as far as voice actors. They haven't got many roles attached to them. But let's have a look at the voice actors as we look at
The good, the bad, and the dubbers.
So Kenshin in this version is voiced by J. Shannon Weaver, who is only known for Monleon from Blade of the Phantom Master. Kaoru is voiced by Amanda Hanawa. Yep. Yahiko is voiced by Blake Shepard, who is Yumeji from Dream Eater Mary, Maguro from Medaka Box Abnormal, and Akito and Agito from Egia. Probably the most notable of the voice actors. Sanosuke is voiced by Gray G. Haddock, who most of you probably aren't aware of, but he is Areldo in Pumpkin Scissors, but he is also an animation producer for Ruby, which is Rooster Teeth's fantastic series. Red like roses fills my dreams and takes me places I have been. I don't know the words properly. This will be the day we waited for, and Ruby Yang, Weiss, and Blake, and all that sort of stuff. He's the animation producer on that, so that's very, very cool. Shishio is voiced by David Wald, who's also the other well-known voice actor in the form of Paulie from One Piece, Gajeel from Fairy Tail, and Master Chief from the Halo Legends series. And Mizuho is voiced by Megan Nicole Bowman, who is Nadia from Nadia the Secret of Blue Water. So New Kyoto arc was very pretty, and I did appreciate that part of the series, but I didn't like that this reimagining was so far away from what the original had. I do give this this OVA set a 6 out of 9. I don't know, I just feel that the original was so well done, and I love how it progressed so much that anything less than that is, I don't know, it just feels like it's a slight on the original series. And I know I've rambled on a lot about this this series, but I just feel that the original, despite the fact that the animation quality is a lot better in this, I just feel that the original is a much stronger story than this, because it's so disconnected. It doesn't have all that lead-up backstory, the previous 60, 70 episodes to really build up, Sanosuke and his relationship with Kenshin, and Yahiko, and how Yahiko and Kaoru fit in with Kenshin, and Mizuho and Sanosuke, and the priest guy, and the cop guy, who it's one of the guys from the Shinsengumi teaming up with Kenshin. It doesn't really play in. I did love how gruesome this was, because Kenshin gets stabbed straight through with a sword, but still, I just did not feel that this series did as strong a job as what the anime did originally. Just my opinion. So, at the end of another This Is I Am Criddle, this has been Rurouni Kenshin, the New Kyoto arc, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.